Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we have another versus battle, the Twinblades going up against the Katanas. Now, these are comparable because they're all pretty much dexterity-based weapons, do have very similar speeds, range, and variation in its moveset. So we are going to have a bunch of different categories, pit them up against each other, so trying to figure out which one's better for which situation, and we'll just go from there. As always, please do like and subscribe, and do follow me on Twitch. I should be live by the time this video is actually out. So yeah, let's get into it. Starting off with variety, we have the Katanas here. Now, there aren't that many Katanas, but they do cover a decent variety in terms of status effects. Every single one does actually get a passive status effect, whether it be bleed, something for poison in the serpentbone blade, or something for frost in the dragonscale blade. All of these are actually dexterity-based weapons, except for the meteoric ore blade, which is your lone strength-based option. Do have a couple of intelligence-based options, stuff with differing heavy attacks in the meteoric ore blade, serpentbone blade, and the nagakiba. Now, the only thing that actually really is lacking is a faith-based option. I don't think From Software has ever made a faith-based katana. Maybe the DLC brings us one, who knows? But overall, I'll probably give this one about a B tier in variety. As for Twinblades, it's probably not going to be as good. You do have more options that can be infused, but you don't really have much in terms of differing movesets. Like the Godskin Pillar and the Eleonoras poleblade have slightly different heavy attacks, but overall, it's pretty much the exact same. You do have only one option that can be infused that does actually get a unique Ashawar, whereas the other option that can be infused doesn't get a unique Ashawar. You do have something for strength, and you have dexterity-based options, so it's not the worst, but I'll probably give it about a C tier overall. Okay, now going into the moveset, starting off with the light attacks, the Katanas, they just get a bunch of diagonal swipes, which are very nice, and with later into the combo, it starts to do a bunch of horizontal swipes as well, which is really cool. As for the Twinblades, it is very similar, just a bunch of like horizontal / vertical or diagonal swipes with this light attack. Two-handed light attack with the Katana, it's pretty much the exact same thing. As for the two-handed twin blade, though, it does differ a lot. It does a bunch of like these double swings that hits with both sides of the blade, which is pretty decent. You do get stuck in like a longer animation. It does decent damage. Unfortunately, it doesn't stagger as well, which is definitely what it's missing. As for the heavy attacks with the Katanas, do get a nice poking attack and a follow-up horizontal swipe, whereas for the twin blades, it's just like an upward swipe. When it's fully charged, though, you do a bunch of like these spinning attacks when it's two-handed, which definitely is really cool. Does nice status effect damage and does really decent stagger damage as well. As for the power stance combo, it is pretty similar. They like do one hits after the other. I don't really care much for the power stance combo with either of these. The Katanas, I probably value a little bit more in terms of its power stance combo because its crouching attacks do stagger very nicely. However, the jumping attacks with the twin blades is pretty much the best move that it actually does have. But all in all, I'll probably end up leaning more towards the Katanas in terms of having the better moveset. Okay, getting into the Ashes of War now, it's actually going to be pretty difficult to actually trying to figure out which one's better for which. So starting off with the Katanas, these are all the options that Katanas get that Twinblades do not. Now, the obvious option here is Unsheath. Stormblade is still a decent option, but Unsheath is definitely like a top 3 Ash of War in this game. Does a really nice amount of damage for a little amount of FP, which is absolutely insane. And you do have 2 different options as well, and it's only specifically unique to the Katanas, so that's very good for them. But for the Twinblades, this is what they get that the Katanas do not. Now, there's also a bunch of really good options here, namely Giant Hunt and Ice Spear, probably my favorite ones. Actually, there is Phantom Slash there as well, so it has like a bunch of good S tier options. So it's very hard to try and go either way. But honestly, I'd probably lean towards the Twinblades in this one because I just like Phantom Slash and Ice Spear a lot. They're probably my favorite ones in the game to use, but Unsheath definitely carries a katana. They're probably both S tier in terms of Ash of War. Now, as for which one is better in PvE, on screen right now is my top 10. Not going to go too much into detail. I do have my own dedicated tier list, so do check those out, link down below. But there are going to be more katana-based options compared to Twinblades, and Twinblades don't really have much variety in terms of what they actually have. There's only like one that can be infused, and there's a bunch of random ones that don't really differ between one another. So I would probably have to leave more towards the Katanas in this instance, but I do value the Eleonoras poleblade the best out of all the other ones in terms of PvE. I think its Ash of War is just absolutely amazing. Does really good bleed build up, does stagger very well, does really nice posture damage. It is pretty risk free and it doesn't consume that much FP on top of all of that. But that's not to say that the nagakiba or the moonveil is like that much worse. They're pretty much exactly the same. I just value the Eleonoras poleblade just a little bit more. But yeah, Katanas will probably have to take PvE out in this one. As for the best PvP options, on screen is my top 10 once again. Not going to really go into it. I have my own tier list if you want to hear me talk about them, but yeah, obviously the Katanas are going to win out PvP. That's pretty obvious. They all get status effects. They all have very quick and good range in terms of its moveset. And you look at options like the Moonveil, which just like, we know its Ash of War is absolutely amazing. And look at something like a Nagakiba with how much range that thing has. Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. You will notice that I have the Rivers of Blood kind of like at the bottom of this list. it's just outclassed nowadays. I think the uchigatana and the nagakiba are just better options. You can infuse it with better Ashes of War than something like Corpse Pilar. It's been nerfed way too much for it to actually be a top tier option anymore. It's probably just an A tier. But yes, katanas are an S tier option in PvP. But yeah, that pretty much concludes it for this one, guys. It was pretty obvious that the katanas were going to win. It was a pretty useless comparison, but like there was nothing else to really compare these two other than with each other. So there is that. As always, please do like and subscribe and just let me know down below which ones I should be comparing next. And do follow me on Twitch because I should be live by the time this video is out. And yeah, see you in the next one, guys. Peace.